Hey there, Monkey Pod friends and community members. I'm here today with Jeff Arnold. Jeff is from Four Spot Consulting and the creator of CRM Backup.com. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. Really looking forward to getting into this idea of who needs a backup solution for their CRM.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to Monkey Pod Nation on what's going on.
What I wanted to ask you about today is just the nature of backups and the nature of the data that businesses use inside of their CRM systems. It's pretty common that people pick a CRM, whether it's Keep or High Level or HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever it might be, and they make that the center of their business universe. I need to ask, how safe is that data with the CRM service provider?
Yeah, I believe that whenever you're working with those types of entities, those SaaS service providers, I think your data is extremely safe. I believe they have everything backed up in the cloud in multiple locations. So I don't think you're at risk of losing your data in mass and having some sort of catastrophic loss of data.
If in general, we can agree that large SaaS companies, large CRM companies have a plan for keeping data safe and keeping it redundant en masse. What kind of things do go wrong with data?
Everything. But I mean, the use of CRM backup and the reason that we created this is not so much as the be all end all backup of all of your data because we anticipate catastrophic failure with your CRM. The reason we have the software created is so you can get instant access to that backup to be able to restore the data that's there. So quite often, if you have a lot of people working within your organization, you're going to have somebody fat finger some information or mistype something or copy and paste it wrong, or potentially even delete a contact record by accident, especially if you're working with integrations. If you're using a Zapier or Make or one of those services, that is where you can really end up doing some damage if you have some incorrect code that you're using and putting that in place. Things go wrong, and that's really what this is designed for, so that you can go right back immediately and undo whatever you just did.
Right. So I heard you say fat fingers, right? You talked about when people are involved. And then separately from that, you said when tools or systems or like APIs or integration tools are involved. There are those two sides, right? There's the human element when people are involved in your data, and then there's the technical element when like APIs and systems and routines and things work on your data. So
Yeah.
on the people side, let's break that down a little bit further. You said fat fingers. I think that does that refer to accidents, to just little
Accidents,
incidental missteps, right?
accidents, typos. You're typing in a phone number and you accidentally hit seven twice instead of six. Now you have a phone number, you don't know what it is because it's 11 digits instead of 10. Working on an email address, you accidentally type Gmail instead of Gmail. There are a variety of things that you could do wrong whenever you have humans involved in the process. Yes.
Right. So those are humans who are doing the job that they were asked to do, like put in phone numbers or update customer service cases or those types of things. I would guess, not that we want to think about it, there could be maybe a poor design problem as well. Like, have you seen those types of situations with like a design or setup problem in
Yeah,
the
we've
platform?
we've we've worked with some sales organizations where they gave their salespeople access they shouldn't have had, the ability to change owners, for example. We were able to go in, and one of the individuals knew that they were working with Mary Smith, choose whatever name. And so suddenly they couldn't, go into Mary Smith anymore, and they wondered what was going on. So we were able to go into the CRM backup system and see that a particular individual had changed a lot of the owners on a lot of the leads that were coming through that had been qualified. And
Right.
so it gives you that insight into the back end. So you can work with those people that are just making mistakes by mistyping some information. You can then verify that, oh, go back and get the good phone number as opposed to the bad phone number. But it also helps you identify on the back end, maybe somebody who's not being quite so upfront on what they're supposed to be doing.
So the things that go wrong with data can be kind of human oriented, and
Right.
then you alluded to some of the more technical oriented stuff as well,
Right.
right? With the best of intentions, you might have told Zapier, "Hey, can you go and update records?" But then you don't have the right filter for which record or something like that
You don't
to,
have the right filter, or you map the wrong field. You end up mapping the middle name to the first name or something along those lines. And suddenly you run that because you're running it against 500 records, and suddenly you just changed 500 records the wrong way. The other thing that happens a lot is people will have lead gen, where people are coming into the system and they're allowing the lead gen that's coming in to overwrite data that's already in the system. So the
right,
user, the front end user, mistypes their email or mistypes their phone number, and now your
right.
valid information that you had now gets overwritten with wrong. So
And again, the nature is there's got to be this balance in the data where, okay, well, is it the old that's the best or is it the most recent that's the best? First or most
right.
recent? And it's kind of a constant battle in managing information in our tools.
Yeah,
So,
and like you said, the nefarious stuff is such a small percentage of it. It usually is just, honest to goodness mistakes. People just make an error. The other thing that happens a lot of times is you'll get somebody who enters a phone number that's valid, but they enter, maybe they give you their cell phone number originally, but now you come back and you enter a landline. Well, now you can't text them because you don't have a valid mobile number that's there. And
right,
so by having the tool, you can go back in, look at the history of that, and then use that information to then populate maybe phone two, so that now you get both phone numbers in there.
right. Understood. That makes sense. So off the top, I asked, is your data safe with CRM service providers? And you said on the whole, yeah, these are sophisticated companies with sophisticated systems and
Right.
redundancies and those types of things. What kind of backups, history, accountability to you or me as the business owner, the subscriber, what can we expect from those software service providers in terms of the service, that they'd want to offer us related to backups?
Yeah, so specifically with Keep, I know that when you have data, they do have it all backed up. They have a very complex network on the back end of data and where data sits and where it gets moved and things like that. So we've had a lot of conversations with them as we were building this, believe it or not. What happens though is that that data is not just readily available, that they can just click a button and restore it, right? I mean, they keep that data just like you should keep your data and your security levels, so that people can't just accidentally do something massive. They do the same thing. So what happens is, if you need to go in and undelete content, or and usually it's an undelete with them. It's not necessarily, can you tell me what the previous value was? Normally it's, I need to undelete a record. When you do that, it's a support request that you put in. They're going to charge you a couple $100 to take care of doing this. And it's going to take a week or two for them to get that back. And that's through experience and talking with the team. That's the process they take. What happens though in that time frame, you're trying to work with this contact record and it's not there anymore. So now you're completely frozen. You can't just restore the record and keep moving on. You have to wait for a week or two, because if they had a lot of orders or a lot of notes, you don't want to completely start a brand new record. And a lot of times the notes are the things that you need to get into. You need to see what the notes were that you were making on the record. You need to adjust a subscription, something like that. Whereas with the CRM backup, you're able to take that and push that back in right away and then continue working with that client.
Right. Right. That makes sense. As far as owners of accounts, right? Subscribers to Keep, subscribers to other CRM systems. Have you noticed, are there any types of people who are really good at identifying this need for themselves? And are there, contrary to that, are there types of people, types of users who just keep it as a blind spot? Like they're happy to believe they don't need backups?
I think that the people that have the blind spot are the people that have never needed it. And suddenly they need it and they're like, oh, I really wish I would have had this. Um, I actually talked to one individual who's a partner, and he said that when I introduced and told him about this, he's like, man, I wish I had this 2 days ago. He said, I had a client call me, and this is obviously the microcosm, right? He said, they told me they had cataract surgery, and in the process of working on their software, they accidentally deleted all of their contacts. So I mean, so that's a unique instance, but those are the instances where you realize, oh crap, like I wish I had that insurance, right? I mean, you buy car insurance, you buy life insurance, you buy home insurance, you're insuring for something to go wrong. This is basically data insurance, is what this is that you're paying for insurance so that if you do something and delete a record or do some mass update that messes up your database, you have a backup for it, so you can go in and you can get that information and you can unwind it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What are the different approaches or strategies that people deploy for backups? Like obviously there's the CRM Backup.com tool.
Mhm.
There are probably others. Like what are the different mindsets or approaches or strategies that people use to do this?
Most people that I've seen up to this point, all they're doing is doing CSV exports. So they're going into their keep system and they're saying, give me all my contacts, give me an export of all the data that's in there. And that's great, right? I mean, that gives them the contact data, but most people don't go in and get the rest of the stuff. They don't go in and back up all of the notes. They don't go in and back up all of the orders. And so what happens is they might have the contact data, they might have the custom fields, they might have the initial contact data, but if something goes wrong, now they don't have the notes and they don't realize that it's not all tied together. If you want to unwind all of that, it's a process of cross-referencing and all kinds of stuff to get that data back into your
Yeah,
system. So that's where with this system, we have it all blended together inside of our database, just like Keep has it blended together inside of their database. So we have it over on our side so that when we do push that button to say restore, it's grabbing all of the information related to that person and pushing it all back at once.
right. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think what I've taken from you today is this idea that yes, the data is backed up. The SaaS companies are responsible, they're accountable, they're going to have, checks and balances in place on the whole, right? The idea of some kind of catastrophic IT technical failure, that's the part that's pretty low, and that's the part that is protected against by having these software companies do database, backups of their entire customer bases. But the gap and what they're really not accountable for, what they're not even putting their hands up and saying, this is a feature of us, is to be able to provide that more granular and historic kind of snapshot version. We know what it looked like today and yesterday and the day before that, and we
Right.
know what it looks like, these ones were affected, these ones weren't affected, is
Correct.
is what they're just not accountable for, which
Yeah.
I think is kind of interesting to put that line up between the two. So
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing these insights with me today. I need to go and do a little bit of reflection on how we back up our accounts and how some of my clients back up their accounts. So I really appreciate you sharing this.
Excellent. No, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.